Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. We're going all the way to the year 2070, where robots are extensively doing space missions. However, some of them have been recharged and they're operating outside of their programming. We're going to be scientists leading the charge, sending planet defenders out there to catch these rogue robots. Today we're going to be taking a look at Planet Defenders. This is a 2 to 4 player game, takes 30 to 60 minutes to play, from Renegade Game Studios. We're going to be doing a rules school today, so I'm going to teach you how to set up and play the game so that you don't have to read the rules yourself. So let's get started. Planet Defenders is a 2 to 4 player set collection game where you'll be moving these different defenders around the planet. You'll be activating planets and gathering things like batteries, which allow you to move, or energy, which in the end allows you to add those up in a set to collect different robots. Robots also allow you to gain energy and different benefits as well, and they're worth points at the end of the game, and you'll get more points for a different variety of robots. You'll also be upgrading technologies, which allows you to use resources as other types, allows you to move specific defenders further, and getting different technologies, which in turn can also give you a variability bonus at the end of the game. The planets and the robots are randomized at the beginning of the game, so each game plays quite differently, and all the planets activate in different ways. And there's also advanced variants that seasoned gamers will enjoy. For the 3 Planet Defender figures, you'll take the plastic clear stands that come with them and place them into the backs of these defenders. And when they're standing straight up, they look sort of like this. In the video, I'm actually going to be taking them off the stands and laying them face flat up, just so you can actually see them. They're a little bit easier to see that way on the video. First, find the base planet tile. You'll know it's that because there's no icon in the upper left-hand corner. You'll place it in the center of the playing area. You'll then take these 3 Planet Defenders and place them on that tile. You'll then take the other 8 planet tiles. They're the same size as the base tile, but these have icons in the left-hand corner. You'll randomize them by shuffling them, and you'll surround the base planet with them so that you have a 3x3 grid in the end. Next, take the red die and place it in the bottom left of the desert casino. Next, you'll set up the 3 control tiles off to the side, and these are double-sided tiles. You'll randomize which side is up, but you'll have 3 of them. Next, you'll find the 23 technology cards that have this icon on them. You'll shuffle those cards up, and then you'll flip the top 4 cards up. This makes the technology display. This will be off to the side too, but where everyone can still reach it. Next, you'll find the 20 robot cards that look like this. They have numbers in the upper left-hand corner. You're going to shuffle those cards together, and you're going to create 4 different piles, each of them being 5 cards. And you'll put each of those 4 piles, as shown here, just at the very top, bottom, left, and right of the display. If you're playing with 2 or 3 players, remove 1 robot card from each of these 4 stacks and put them back in the box without looking at them. This means there'll be 4 cards in each of these stacks. You'll then separate out the yellow batteries and the 3 different energy colors into the different quadrants of the open spaces of the board. There'll be 33 batteries. And if you're playing a 2 or 3 player game, you'll want to remove 2 of each of the energy colors and place them in the box. Next, find the planet that has this cube track on the bottom of it. You're then going to take one of those yellow batteries and you're going to place it in the bottom right over this green cube. This is going to be a switch marker. Next, you'll find these player boards. One of them says start on it. You'll make sure you take this one, and then you'll take as many of these so that in total between the start player board and the other ones, you have as many boards as there are players. So if you're playing with 3 players, you'd have 3 boards with one of them being a start player. The other boards that you don't use can get put back in the box. You'll then randomize these, shuffle them up, and deal them out. Whoever has the start player board is the start player. Each player will then get 5 batteries from the reserve and place them on the top of their player board where the batteries go. These must always be visible to other players as to how many you have. The object of the game is to have the most points, and you'll be getting points by catching different robots, by getting points on them, by spending energy that you have in order to get those points. You'll also gain more points at the end for having a variety of different robots, and you'll also gain points by having a variety of different technologies from the technology cards. Over the course of the game, each player will take their turn, and then it will go clockwise to the next player, and on players' turns they're going to take 1 or 2 main actions, followed by an optional extra action. When taking your main actions, if it's your first main action, you'll spend 1 battery and place it on one of these control tiles. So if I place it like this means I'll be moving this defender this amount. In this case, it's 1. So we were moving this yellow defender 1. Now you can only move it orthogonally, never diagonally. You can move through other defenders, but you can never land on a tile where other defenders are. Of course, they start together, but after that, once they're moved, you can never end your turn there on another defender. And you can never backtrack, meaning going 1 and then back to where you were. Step 2 of the main action is to activate that planet that your defender landed on. In this case, we're simply getting a blue energy and a battery. When taking energy, remember there's a limited amount in the supply. There's 10 to start the game unless you're playing with 2 or 3 players, so there's only 8. If there's no energy left, then you can take a battery in its place. Batteries, however, are unlimited. If you run out of both energies and batteries in an unlikely event, then use a suitable replacement to show batteries. So in this case, we took another battery and we got the blue energy down here. Then, if you'd like to optionally take a second main action, you can do so. However, you must spend 2 batteries to take your second main action, and when you select a control tile, you cannot select one that you've already placed batteries on in your first main action. So in this case, I'm going to move red 1 using 2 batteries. And in this case, I'll just move red 1 up here, and I'll gather 3 batteries and place them in my supply. After taking your 1 or 2 main actions, you can optionally take an extra action. For extra actions, you have 2 different choices. The first is here, which is upgrading a technology. You can spend the resources seen at the top of any one of these cards back to the supply to gather one of these technology cards. If you remember, I had just gotten 3 batteries on my second main action, so that's how I spent into the general supply to pay for this, and it goes to the left side of your player board, notated here by the blue technology cards. Now these cards all do different things. For example, if I ever move a defender to a planet in the top left-hand corner has this icon that I can get an additional battery, for example. Refer to the very back of the rulebook, page 8, for the appendix showing you what all these different technology cards do as you come up to them. Once you've upgraded that technology, you'll then flip up the next card. Instead of upgrading a technology, for your optional extra action, you could instead catch a robot. You can catch 1 robot with any of the defenders that you used this turn. To help remind you which defenders you've moved, you can see which ones still have the battery cubes on them. Now you can only buy 1 robot regardless of how many main actions you took, and you can only buy the closest one to any of the defenders you moved. So here, this is the only robot this planet defender could possibly take. Same this robot for this planet defender. However, hypothetically, if this defender was moved here, this one is equal distance between this stack of robots and this stack of robots. So in this turn, I actually could have gotten this robot, caught this one, or caught this one. You can only select one, and it's because I had moved both these defenders, and this is where they had ended up, and because I did not take an optional upgrade technology action for my extra action. And in order to catch that robot, you would need to spend these resources. You would also gather this resource from the supply and place it into your own supply, and you'd get 4 points for this at the end of the game. All robots that you catch go to the right of your player board. This helps you keep track of the different types or colors of robots, which will be worth points at the end of the game. After you've either taken the maximum 2 main actions and an optional extra action, or if you've decided that you've taken all the actions that you'd like to this turn, your turn will end. You'll take the batteries off of the control cards that you used, and you'll place them back in the supply, and you will flip over the cards, only the ones that you used this turn. So this tile would not get flipped. This opens up new actions for the next player. Notice that these that I flipped, I had moved red 1. Here it shows that blue is 2. This shows you what is on the back side of this tile, so you can always see what it's going to do for other opponents when you select that tile. You then check your own player board for the maximum resources. You can only have a maximum of 5 energy resources. If you have more than that, at this time at the end of your turn, you'll have to discard down to 5, placing the ones that you don't want in their respective supplies. You can have an unlimited amount of batteries. After your turn, it goes clockwise to the next player. Instead of taking the normal turn flow, which I've already talked about, you can decide to rest. You do this if you're very low on batteries, because for your turn, you just get up to 3 batteries in your supply from the reserve, and then it goes to the next player. The game continues like this until any 2 stacks of the robot cards have been completely depleted. You then finish that current round, making sure everyone has had the same amount of turns, meaning it will end with the player to the right of whoever has the start tile. Then each player will see how many points they have. They add up all the points from the robots that they had caught throughout the game, and then you'd look at this chart here depending on the amount of different robots you have. In this case, I have 4 completely different robots, and so that's going to get me 2 more points. And then here, how many different technologies you have. I have 2, so that's an additional point. So with those bonuses and all the total scoring there, I have a total of 16 points. If it's tied, whoever has the most leftover energy is the winner. If it's still tied, you share the victory. For many of the planets, it's self-explanatory after seeing the video so far, which is just gathering batteries and or energy of this certain type. If there's a question mark with all 3 colors, it's an energy of your choice. Here, for example, it's spend an energy of your choice and a battery to get any one of those 3. Here, it's spend an energy of your choice to get 5 batteries. These 2 need a little bit more explanation. When you go to the Desert Casino, you would roll this die. If you get a 1, you get 2 batteries. If you roll a 2 through 4, you get an energy of your choice and a battery. And if you roll 5 or 6, you get 2 energies of your choice. When activating the planet with the cube track, you can decide to either pay nothing and move it 1 and get that energy, in this case blue. You can pay a battery to move it an additional space from normal, which would be here, and you'd get both the blue and the orange. Or you could spend 3 batteries and move it all 3 spots, getting all 3 energies. So it would go here, here, and here, and you'd get 2 blues and an orange. It's cumulative. And if you have more questions about the planets, Appendix A in the back of the rulebook, page 7, has all these detailed for you. Once you're familiar with the game, there's 2 variants you can add in. The first one is you can have 2 extra actions instead of just 1, and those were the upgrading technology and catching robots. The other variant is you can do your actions in any order. You could take a main action, then an extra action, then another main action. And you can combine these 2 variants together, but just know that if you do this, the game will be slightly longer and it will introduce more downtime between player turns. Well, I hope this helped you dive right into Planet Defenders and get to the fun much quicker than you would have if you needed to read the rulebook yourself. If you have further questions, I've placed a link below me in the description of this video. That's the best place to ask them because I'll get notified, but also so will the publisher.